Alright, you know what I'm realizing? Well, I've realized it a long time now, but I'm just saying it publicly. Is there are some people who don't care about the nuclear family. In fact, they don't care about any family at all. They would be happy if every family fell apart and people were just lingering and just dying and just devastated, because a family is not just a unit where people live together. It's a unit that supports each other psychologically, emotionally, financially. It's a unit of survival. It's the most basic unit of survival. Every thriving community is a collection of families. Every thriving church is a collection of families. Every thriving school, educational institution, every institution in life is a collection of people from various families. And the only reason why they are able to thrive in these environments is because they have a family. A family, a unit that is for survival, and people don't want that. In fact, back in the day, the unit of survival was the extended family, and that was way stronger than families now. That was a unit that comprised of different generations, and people survived very well. Now it evolved into the nuclear family, which gives people a little bit more autonomy, a little bit more freedom, but still is critical to the survival of the human species. So you don't have grandmother and grandfather and cousins and so on. It's just mom and dad and the kids, and it works, right? There are still extended families, and they work pretty well, right? In fact, they may even work better. But people want to see the downfall of the nuclear family. And it is very strange that this guy, I mean, I don't really follow a lot of his stuff, but I've heard his debates. I've heard enough to understand that he's a part of a nuclear family. I'm talking about Charlie Kirk, okay? He proposes the preservation of the family, and the nuclear family is what he proposes, because most people don't really have an extended family, you know. And people rejoiced when he died. Feminists rejoiced. Liberals rejoiced to see that this man was murdered. It was an assassination, and it is so strange that they rejoiced, because he said some stuff that sounds racist, which is the talking point of these people, right? They were happy that he died. But the thing is, when Jesus died, I'm not comparing him to Jesus now, but I'm using the perfect. I'm talking about a man will fall and make mistakes, and I'm now using a man who has never made any mistakes, Jesus. And people rejoiced when he died. So if a normal man that's fallible, Jesus, the infallible man, people were happy that he was crucified, killed for a crime that was, in fact, we don't even know what the crime is that Jesus died for, because the people in the Bible, if you check what their stories didn't add up. And at the end of the day, even the man who convicted him was like, listen, I wash my hands of this, because I don't know why I haven't found any fault. I don't know why you guys are trying to convict him. And then they took him and brought him to somebody else to try and prove that he did something wrong. And they killed him anyway. And at the end of the day, it did nothing except amplify God's plan. And then we have men who are fallible. They're not infallible like Jesus. And they do good work, because this guy was clearly trying to debate the preservation of human life, because when he talks about prisons being filled with black people, he's trying to explain that it's because they're from single parent homes, and they live in communities that facilitate, I won't say breed, facilitate crimes, right? They live in an era where the mothers may not want their sons to be criminals, but they're in an environment that makes it feel comfortable. So you'll have some young boys who don't want to commit crimes, but the only people they see around them that are role models are criminals. And the people who are mentoring them are criminals. It's not like they're surrounded by businessmen and educated individuals who are trying to give them a positive guidance, right? And he says all this stuff, and people say, oh, he's racist. Well, you know what? Talking the truth is always wrong. Especially now, because I mean, they killed Jesus for talking the truth, and that was back in the day. So if you talk truth now, people are going to rejoice if you die. I'm seeing videos of Kevin Samuels that I never saw when he was alive. He made them, but I watched quite a few when he was alive, and after he died, I see some coming out. I'm like, how could women have watched these videos and think he hated women? I'm like, these people are stupid. Like, he did so many videos encouraging women to be realistic, finding out what they're doing to progress their life, finding out what they're doing to ensure their children, because a lot of these women who would call him were single mothers, what they're doing to see their children thrive. If they were unrealistic in how their situation is and how well they can pull a man of their desire, and it was irrational or unlikely, he would say, why not go back to be with your baby's father? He would encourage them, because he knew that the nuclear family is the cornerstone of every society, is the greatest possibility for humans to survive. Not for a woman to survive, for a man to, well, men can survive without women, but the thing is, the emotional support a man gets is greater when he has a wife, right? So the woman can survive, the man can survive even better, and children have two parents taking care of them, and so the child will survive better. And he would push these women, well, encourage these women to go seek counseling. How many people are realistic? Your very friends don't want to tell you to go and seek counseling because you're going to let them feel bad. You're not a good friend. It's always been said. Well, I know when I was a child, it was said that a true friend will tell you when you're wrong and tell you the right thing, even if it hurts you. And this guy, being a total stranger, would encourage these women. He would ask them enough questions to know what their emotional state was, and then encourage them to go seek counseling, and they would refuse it. And women who watch these programs would say he hates women. Are these women idiots? And I'm sure Charlie Kirk, if he did a calling thing, he would encourage these women, because the thing is, he lived by example. I don't know much about this guy, but I know he was married and he had, I don't remember if it was 2 or 3 children, but he clearly was living what he was speaking, right? And people rejoiced to see he was dead. And anytime somebody is trying to talk out against the wrong thing and encourage the right thing, people are going to hate them. The thing, this is something. Let me leave you guys with this. And I think this is why Avengers Endgame was such a, well, Endgame and the one before was such a pivotal moment in cinematic history, because for years anime has shown the villain as someone who is rational and can be understood, but the vast majority of people do not watch anime, and we've always seen villains as people who come with a cynical laugh. Take over the world and all this stuff. Some stuff, and you're like, oh, that guy's clearly evil. But we know, when we observe life, and the Japanese are so smart. They saw this a long time ago, and they've always portrayed villains as not people with cynical laughs and world domination and evil intention. They are people who are just like you and I, and they see certain things in life, and they want, whether they want good for their nation or they want to correct wrongs that they have seen. So when we see, I mean, even the people who we have as evil in life, world leaders right now, political leaders in other countries, certain countries which I will not name, and we see them as evil. They are not seeking world domination. They're seeking to protect their people. They're seeking to protect their people from your people. They are humans just like everybody else. So if we bring it back home, the feminist is not somebody that wants to see the downfall of their family. They're seeking to fill that void in their heart. It's not an evil intention. There's a void inside of every liberal and every feminist that needs to be filled, because it's a human tendency to fill a void. And some people fill it with drugs and drinking and gambling and all sorts of promiscuity and all that stuff. They fill that void with those things. It's just a human desire. And so the lifestyle that a feminist and a liberal lives is going to go against morality. It's going to go against the family. It's going to go against the survival of the human race. It's not an evil intent. It's just a selfish intent to fill a void with the wrong things. So when you hear them talk about strong independent woman, it's not that they're evil. They want to survive, but there's this selfish need to do it all by yourself and not to be governed by rules, right? When people steal, oftentimes they don't say, I'm going to mash up a business now. Ooh, I want to mash up some businesses. I want to tarnish the life of people. No, they need some money or they need some goods, and they decide, I'm going to take the easy route because they need to survive. So these people, they want to live their lives just like anybody else, but they're going about it the wrong way. So a woman, a feminist man or woman will say, oh yeah, and this is what we want and whatever, and they're going about it the wrong way. And it is our responsibility, those of us who know right from wrong and have not been misled like them, to speak out. So if you see a child beating another child and they're not your child, you stop him. A lot of people would say, oh, I'm going to leave them alone. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want their mother to come and beat up on me, which oftentimes happens because when parents hear their child say, teacher beat me because I was doing something wrong, the parent will be more likely, these modern day parents are more likely to beat. There goes another one. They're more likely to beat upon the teacher than to correct their child. As opposed to back in the day of my parents, when they would get a beating from the teacher, and then when they go home, their mom would beat them when they found out that they did something bad, and the teacher, they trusted the judgment of the teacher, and so gave another beating just to ensure that the child learned the lesson. But discipline is not what liberals are about. Discipline is not what feminists are about. They're all about, and they will say, but I discipline my child. Yeah, but your moral compass is flawed. So you may discipline your child, but your judgment is totally off. If you are of the view that all your problems is because of the patriarchy and male leadership is flawed, then your moral compass is off. Your judgment is flawed, and so you cannot be trusted to really raise your child. Your child may even grow up to be a relatively healthy adult, but there are things that are going to be off in that child as an adult that could have been avoided if you had just raised the child in a nuclear family, right? And the thing is, they'd like to say, but I'm raising my child fairly. In fact, I'm raising my child better than that nuclear family over. Really? You see, this thing I keep saying, comparison is the thief of joy. And if you keep comparing what you have done with other people based on your judgment, nothing will. First, as I said, your judgment is off, so you can't use your brain and your compass, your moral compass, to judge a nuclear family. The fact is, there is a great deal of pressure of one or the other parent when two parents are present, and the only argument a feminist really has for a single parent home is that male single parent homes do vastly better statistically than female single parent homes. Vastly. Even when the child is a female being raised by a single father, vastly better. I mean, Pearl is one public example, but there are so many others. Anyway, boy, I don't know how we got here, but it is very, very sad that but you see, the Bible says, by your fruits ye shall know them. And it's not just Christians, it's everybody. Everybody bears fruit. Whether in your workplace, your fruit is the work that you put out. Your evaluation is just the examination of that fruit. If somebody is a fisherman and he goes fishing every day and he spends long hours out there fishing in the river and he only catches 2 fish per day and they're very small, that's the fruit of his labor. He may be a good fisherman, but he's probably using the wrong bait, going to the wrong spot. He's not using his intelligence as a fisherman, right? That's his fruit. And the fruits of these liberals and these feminists are the bad decisions they make. And the thing is, self-awareness is the enemy of a feminist and a liberal. Self-awareness. They say they're self-aware, but really they don't see the mistakes they made. Because we all make mistakes. All of us. And they don't see it. They always just blame it on somebody else. And then when somebody speaks out about these things, it triggers them. And then these people get hated on. And sometimes they get assassinated. It's just unfortunate that Kevin Samuels had to die. Because he was doing great work. He was one of the few men that was not afraid to speak the truth. I hear it's like a common thing in the US space that people say it's God's work you do. Even if it's not a Christian, well, somebody that's witnessing the gospel of Jesus Christ. But really, he was doing God's work. He may not have been preaching the gospel, but he was telling the truth. And people never wanted to listen. And the truth is still out there all over YouTube. But that's just life, If people would listen to the truth that people told them, I mean, this would be a vastly different world. But, I guess that's why many things have changed. In fact, I'll end up getting into business talk if I start talking more. So I'm going to cut it here. And I want to hear your views. Tell me what's your opinion on what I said. Is it foolishness or do you agree? Okay? I'm out.